I am responsible for a lot of the anxiety in my life. My thinking is responsible for that. And at any given time, I can choose not to go down that path, not to go down that rabbit hole. And I just need to have the wherewithal and the peace of mind to recognize what's happening. Welcome, everyone, to 2025. Welcome me to 39. I turned 39 on January 2nd. That's crazy to me. I'm sure 40 is going to be crazier, but 39 was crazy. But it was a good birthday. It was a good holiday break. It was a good new year. Today's podcast is going to be all over the place. A little bit on turning 39, a little bit on what I want to do for myself this year, just some personal goals, some personal growth type of stuff. Book that I read, a book that I'm reading. What else? Some stuff with our house, what's going on with that, what I want for the main podcast. So a little bit of everything and nothing at the same time. This is how we're going to start 2025 off. I was just following up with Doug as far as podcast numbers, and he said midweek numbers have been consistent. So I appreciate everyone who's been following along. I appreciate all of the consulting calls. I appreciate all the support with the coursework, just the listening, the sharing. If you guys can leave reviews, I know a handful of people asked how they can help. Spread the word, leave reviews, post that you left a review, post a link on your story to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where you can leave a review. Just spread the word. The more people who know about this, the better, the greater our reach, and that would make me very, very happy. Again, thanks to everyone who has been enrolling in coursework, just being part of this community, part of this podcast. So enough with that. 39. It felt similar to 38. Probably will feel similar to 40. I'm not there yet, but I soon will be. I kept on telling Rachel that I have not peaked yet. I haven't peaked. I don't know when I'm going to, but it's not today. So 39 is a big one for me. It was the best winter that I had. I think I've turned a leaf, and I don't want to speak too soon, but I'm becoming more comfortable in my own skin. I'm learning to be more present. I'm learning to live without distractions or not rely so heavily on distractions. I've realized, over my life, and especially over the past years, I rely heavily on things to keep myself busy and not have to sit with my own thoughts. And it was funny, before the new year, I said I wanted to be more present with my family. We took off the year between Christmas and New Year's. We spent some time up at Rachel's family's lake house and spent some time with girls. Rachel took off from work, and I didn't want to be on my phone all the time. I wanted to be present with the girls. So I started that. And then I really had no anticipation of making any sort of drastic change because I'm not really one for New Year's resolutions. I mean, I think it's a good opportunity to change things within your life. And if that's what you need to be the catalyst to do so, more power to you. But I don't want to start something because it's a new year. But my feelings and what I learned and some downtime and changing some habits that week between Christmas and New Year's served as somewhat of a foundation to what I've been doing the past couple of weeks, and who I feel I'm transitioning into and how much better I feel. So essentially, I took some time off. The week between Christmas and New Year's typically is pretty difficult for me. It just, the downtime, starting new work, ending a year, just there's a lot going on, and it creates a lot of anxiety for me that I don't have distractions to help carry me through. So I have to be there with my own thoughts. And I was struggling with that, and I didn't want to be on my phone as much. That's one thing that I want to try and be better about in life. And I look to, past generations. And I remember one time I was sitting in the airport, and there was an older couple near me that got wheeled in on wheelchairs, and they're just sitting there waiting for the plane, doing nothing, just sitting there. And I'm like, damn, when have I sat and waited for a plane and not been on my phone, not been on my computer? I was at Selby's volleyball the other night and I have my computer there and I'm working. And then there's another dad there who's sitting there with his computer and setting up a mobile hotspot and working. And I'm like, this is not what life needs to be. I appreciate work. I appreciate my clients. I like to work. I like helping people, but there has to be something more. We don't need the distractions. We don't need the constant stimulation. Um, and honestly, like during Christmas, there was this picture that came up in a book, and it was somebody sitting in a house, and it was snowing outside, and they were sitting by the fireplace, and they had a cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever it was, and they were just doing nothing. And I'm like, that's what I want. Like that's how I want to feel right now. And obviously, it's a picture in a book; it means nothing. But I realized I wasn't doing anything in my life. Like that's what I wanted, and I have the opportunity to do that. But I wasn't doing anything in my life to make that attainable. So I was like, I'm going to put my phone down. I'm going to limit my time on not just social media, but just text messages, phone calls, email, everything, right? I don't want to be so attached to my phone. And I through doing that, I realized how much anxiety my phone does create for me. And it's not in a general sense, but being so attached to it when it dings, I feel as though I have to respond to somebody immediately or I'm letting them down, right? So if somebody texts me, I need to text back immediately because they're probably waiting on an answer from me. And it's just this habit that I've developed over the years. And I could be at the dinner table and my phone rings and I need to go see who it is because maybe they need me. And I realized that I'm just not that important and that life does not need to be that way. You know, we've gone hundreds of thousands of years without needing that. My dad's alive and he's not attached to his phone like that. So like this is a generational thing. I think that we're kind of the first generation, me at 39, that are attached to our phones all the time. So initially I was like, I'm going to create some distractions to stay off my phone. So basically I'm switching one thing with the other, which really isn't, helping. And I was like, I'll start reading some. So the first book that I picked up was called Don't Believe Everything You Think. And I'm not, I am a big reader, but it's mostly technical information or books on interests that are like dirt biking, carpentry, building, um, technical resources I can move through and read so quickly. There can be distractions and I understand, I interpret the information, I retain the information. But when it comes to books that are um, narratives, or it could be a self-help book, or it could be a fictional book, whatever it may be, I have a difficult time focusing on them, and I don't know why. So it's something I need to work at. But the first book, I was like, this book seems right up my alley, right? It's essentially a book that says most of our suffering, most of our anxiety in life is dictated by our thinking. And I spoke about this with Nick and sorry, trying to do too many things at once. Nick and Mark Williams yesterday in the podcast, where my mom always used to say when I was little that I was mentally masturbating. Essentially, something would happen in my life, regardless if it was good, bad. I would just ruminate on what was happening. And, for a while, I drank just like everyone else. And then I realized that I was using that as a coping mechanism um, to not have to ruminate. And I couldn't control my thoughts. And that was a way that I could turn that off. When I realized that that was becoming an unhealthy avenue for or distraction, I did away with it in my life. And then I turned to work, right? And then I worked a lot. And then I started riding my dirt bike, and I ride my dirt bike a lot. And the dirt bike provides that flow state. So yeah, it's healthy. I'm exercising. But essentially what I'm trying to do is get away from my own thoughts, get out of my own head, just not think. And this book, I'll be the first to admit, it's simple. I'm not absolutely in love with it. I don't think that like it's the life-changing type of book, but I'm reading it a second time, and my intent with this is to kind of keep this as somewhat of like a daily affirmation type of book. And I'm going to keep it in the bathroom. Like, so instead of being on my phone in my bathroom, I can bite off a few pages of this at a time and hopefully retain it and be focused enough. And there's stuff in there that I agree with and stuff I don't. But like the big thing for me that I can relate to within this book is that my thoughts contribute to a lot of my suffering, and that, excuse me, I'm not quoting the book correctly, because thoughts do not contribute to suffering. Your thoughts are objective, right? It's something happens, and then your thinking is what leads to your suffering. So a thought is a natural reaction that our body and our mind do, but you don't have to think after that thought, or you don't have to think negatively after that thought. The thought happens, and then what comes afterwards is your choice. And I have thoughts all the time. Thoughts come into my head, but then what ends up happening is I begin to ruminate on those thoughts, and then it makes me unhappy. It makes me anxious. And although simply put, this thinking is leading to my suffering, and you simply don't need to think, and you can alleviate a lot of suffering in your life. That's a really hard notion to grasp, because it's like, I need to be able to think in life. So there's all sorts of tools and techniques in this book where it's like, you still have to think. You can't turn your brain off, but you have to understand, and you have to be able to delineate between what is constructive thinking and what is just rumination and leading to suffering. And I'm the type of person, for 39 years, that a lot of my thinking has led to suffering. And one of the sticking points in the book with me, or not sticking points, one of the points that stuck out to me is that, for example, riding my dirt bike gets me in a flow state where I don't have to think about anything. So the happiest I am in life is when I'm not thinking about stuff. And that's true. And the most anxious I am in life, or the most I am upset I am in life, is when I'm thinking about stuff. And I can look back to when I would work, and I would work till I hadn't slept, and it was somewhat maniacal, not healthy. But the best that I felt was when I was in the middle of a task, and my body and my mind and my hands and everything was leading to this like intuitive flow state where I wasn't thinking about what I was doing. It was just effortless, and everything was working together, and I was instinctually performing what I had to do. And that's the same thing with dirt biking. There's no time to think, there's no time to ruminate about it, right? Where it's like, you're just going through the motions and you're reacting, and it's instinct and it's intuitive, and it makes me really, really happy. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, when I'm stressed out, when there's a client that's upsetting me, when I feel that I'm pressured financially, the thought comes into my head, right? Hey, we need more money. Instead of being proactive, or creating a path forward that's productive, I tend to ruminate on the negative aspect of that. Well, I should have made more on this job. I'm not charging enough for these services. I don't have the right clients. This type of industry is not for me. This market that I'm in is not conducive to what I have to do. I need to change my business model. I need to hire, whatever it may be. None of that's productive, and none of it is really here nor there, because I can't implement anything with that. So to think, hey, I need to make more money, what I should do is I should sit with that thought and say, yes, that's objective. I need to make more money. And then put a plan into place how I want to do that, and not emotionally attach myself to that. And that's what a lot of this book is. There's many things within it that seem to be a little hippie-ish to me. I'm very practical. I'm very reasonable. I like objective matter. I'm not huge for the gray area. I'm not like overly spiritual. But there are things in this book that really did stick out to me. And resonated with me. And, like I said, the big thing for me is that I am responsible for a lot of the anxiety in my life, and my thinking is responsible for that. Um, and at any given time, I can choose not to go down that path, not to go down that rabbit hole, and I just need to have the wherewithal and the peace of mind to recognize what's happening. Um, and it's not like this massive enlightening experience, but just understanding, hey, like, this is a choice that you're making right now. You're choosing to feel this way about this thought that you have, and you don't have to. Um, and I need to recognize that while it's happening, and I need to be okay with detaching. I recognize this same behavior in my youngest daughter, where she gets stuck on something, and instead of walking away from it like my wife and like Selby can do, she gets hung up on it, and she gets even more upset, and she wants to solve it, and she needs to learn how to detach from it and then come back to it, or not come back to it, but be okay with it and not get herself so worked up. And that's something that it's been common within my life for a long time. So if you're somebody who is a thinker and it doesn't really do you much good, one of the quotes in the book is like along the lines of, I've thought myself out of happiness many times, right? Where you have a great experience. I mean, I can recall, results in dirt bike races where my initial thought response was like, that's amazing. And then I start thinking more, and I think about what I could have done differently and how I should have done this. And if this didn't go wrong, or this certain instance didn't happen, I could have done better, instead of just being happy with what happened. And I've thought myself out of happiness, but I've never thought myself into happiness. And that's very true for me. There's not a lot of situations where it hasn't been a happy thought that I've been able to think my way into being happy about it. And that's just the way that my mind works. So again, that's why this book was decent for me. It Again, there's not, I don't agree with everything. It's not a life-changing book for me. But with everything that's going on, and trying to be more present and trying to be content without distractions, it was really um a perfect opportunity for this book to make its way into my life. And again, the goal for me, and you have to excuse me, I'm sick. My kids got me sick. What's new? The goal for me with this book is to be more of a daily affirmation type of book, where I can pick it up and I can read a chapter a day just as like a reminder. And there's certain chapters in there that are a bit too, you know, hippie-ish for me, where I'll just skim over them and I'll move on to a chapter that seems more practical for me, but a quick, easy read. I think I read it in a day and a half or so. So that's my goal with this book, is just keep it in the bathroom. When I go to the bathroom, I'll read it. That's kind of how I'll start my day. And sometimes middle of the day, I might be reading. End of day. But that's the goal with this book. So if you're interested, don't believe everything you think. Um, Another book that I've been reading is Pretty Good House. And I know on my must-have books, this was one of them. But it's a guide to creating better homes. Dan Colbert, Emily Mottram, Michael Maines, Christopher Briley. We are looking to build our house this year, and I have a design in place. We worked with a company called Design with Frank. We have the plan, the design, but there's some details that I want to integrate into this house, where we're middle class people. We don't have endless budget, and I want some practical details that we can execute on this project that are going to make a pretty good house for us, and they don't have to be crazy. How can we build this house in a way that's affordable? We'll make it durable, we'll make it comfortable, safe, and this is a really good book for that. And it doesn't have everything, but there is a lot of information, and then there's case studies. So these houses that the people have all been a part of, and I've followed Michael Maines' work for a long time with Fine Home Building and all his work with Taunton. and what he does now, and obviously building science and everything else, but he has a really unique approach. And everyone else in this book, I just don't know them. To building for more everyday people where it's attainable, it's not overboard, and they're somewhat simple details to execute that just give you such a return. Not just, I mean, financially, yeah, but from like a healthy perspective, a health perspective, a comfort perspective, a security, even just like layout of house and what to consider with sun and windows. It's just a really good book. It's super easy to read, great information. And then again, there's, I don't know, a dozen or so houses in there they provide case studies for, where it's like, here are the details of the home. Here's what's in it. Here's how we executed those details. Here's what we would have done different. So really, really good book. I really enjoyed it. Again, none of the houses are over the top. They're built to be pretty good houses, and that for me is my client base. That's who we are as a family, and I'm going to take a lot of inspiration from this while I'm implementing and integrating details on our own house build. So just really good information. Very practical, very easy to read, very approachable, very attainable, not out of reach for everyone, for anyone really. I also wanted to dig into what we're doing with the house, kind of where we stand. So we got all our approvals. We got the design done. Well, for the most part done. Site layout, and then permit for septic is in place. So I need to get my grading plan done. Been somewhat dragging my feet on that. We're working to get the window package all buttoned up through Anderson, which I'm really excited about. We're going to be using triple pane windows. So again, that pretty good house, 400 series triple pane windows. Super pumped about that. But starting to detail some of the things that are important to me, how we want to build this house, how we want to use the landscape and what's around us. I was over at the property this past weekend cutting down trees to make room for where we're going to place the barn and the house, septic, all of that stuff. So I'm moving through with all of that work. I'm excited to continue to move forward. I am working through all of that on the back end. 2024 was crazy. I feel like I did a million things and nothing all at once, but it's just hectic. It's crazy. Life's crazy. The girls are getting older. Rachel's working like crazy. It seems that we have no time. And this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to focus on being more present and not necessarily being tied to my phone, and trying to create some systems in my life that just free me up to be able to do things that are really important to me, like get this house together, right? And not feel overwhelmed by doing this, and not feeling stressed, and not thinking, hey, we're going to build a house, and then my mind leading me down this path of all the negative emotions that come along with that, and the struggles that I'm going to have, and what's so difficult about it. I want to try and enjoy this, and I want to become, more detached from all of that emotion. And I realize that this is an opportunity that we have that's huge, and really exciting. And I don't want to let the fear of the unknown and the fear of such a huge step in our life create so much anxiety that I can't enjoy this. So I'm trying to set myself up for success mentally, financially, physically. So that's what 2025 looks like. Obviously, you've seen a ton of work we've been putting on the podcast, a ton of courses that we've been creating. Right now, we are basically revising the pre-construction course, which was the deal with all of these courses. Is we're going to put them out. We're going to gain insight. We're going to gain feedback. And then we're going to go back and we're going to revise these things. And you have lifetime access to this course. So right now I'm going back and I'm going through all the content that we created. I'm seeing what's applicable, what was useful to you guys, what is too much, what you don't need, what may just be a waste of time for you. And then creating more documents for you to be able to implement, integrate, assess, just to see what we do, what works for us, and how you can implement that into your own business. We had a huge push with the marketing and lead generation course, which I appreciate everyone who invested in that. The feedback on that has been great. We'll do the same thing with that course as we move forward and we create new coursework and new information comes in and new systems come in, we will go back and we will revise that and add to it. And you have lifetime access to all of that. So as you can see, there's a million balls up in the air. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to this community. It comes down to being able to help people. I don't want to let go of the consulting clients. I just had one last week. I had one over Christmas break that I ended up taking. Somebody just emailed me again today about looking to schedule something. So I don't want to stop doing that. Again, that's one or two per week that I'm looking to do. It's limited basis, but that's something that I've really enjoyed, and I've enjoyed making time for that. And I feel like it helps me become a better business owner. It helps me become a better mentor for people. It helps me become a better podcast host, a better father, all this information, these conversations. So I am extremely grateful for everyone who takes time to speak with me with regard to all of that stuff. But the podcast, I'm putting a ton of time into it. Like this year, it's a huge goal for me to go all in on podcast related stuff, right? I'm 39 now. I have goals by the time I meet 40, and the clock is ticking. And I'm tired of saying, hey, we'll do it when this happens. We'll do it when that happens. I want it to happen now. And we're going to spend a ton of time and a ton of resources really making that happen. Looking at podcast numbers, realizing we need to shake things up some. And I started looking around online. I look at other industry podcasts and I'm like, damn, I didn't realize, it's a lot of the same. It's a lot of the same guests. It's a lot of the same conversations. It's a lot of the same guests coming at the same schedule. And if we want to be different, if we want to stay ahead of the curve, if we want to be interesting and unique, just like we do in our business, just like we taught in our lead generation course and our marketing course, like we have to elevate, we have to differentiate, we have to bring value to the table. And that's what Nick, Doug, and myself are working on right now. How do we do that? How do we up our game? How do we create better content, better conversations? And we have some ideas. Like we're ready to pull the trigger on some ideas that are going to really make this even better. The conversations better, all the content better, the video, the audio, everything. It's just really exciting, really scary, but really exciting. So over the next few weeks, the next couple of months, even with the email list, we're going to be sending out polls to try and just figure out where we need to be. I'd rather ask you guys and girls through email polls rather than put stuff out and then say, did you like this, right? I want to save everyone the effort and you the frustration of pumping out conversations and interviews that don't resonate with you. So if you have not signed up for the email list, please do so. Go on the website, moderncraftsman.co. A pop-up will come up. You can see on our stories where we post it. You can go on our link tree on moderncraftsman.co. The website will have everything that you need, but go on, sign up for the email list and participate in these polls. Again, people ask all the time, how can they help? Leave us reviews, enroll in courses, spread the word, sign up for the email list, participate in these polls. That's huge for us. And 2025 is going to be a really exciting year. I feel that I've turned a leaf. I feel more at peace than I have. I feel calmer than I have. I'm embracing the chaos of it and not feeling completely overwhelmed, intimidated, and stressed out. And I don't have the fear of the unknown. So I'm really embracing all of this and moving ahead in 2025, which I hope all of you also have the opportunity to do. So I'm super excited about it. If you have suggestions for me, as far as a direction, as far as guests go, as far as what we can do to elevate this, to better this, whether it's the podcast, whether it's the courses, whether it's midweek, whatever, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. I'm usually pretty good at getting back to them. I am pretty good at getting back to emails now, which was not always the case. But if there's something that we can do, if there's something you'd like to see us not do, if there's something that could be better, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. As always, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate hanging around. I appreciate you in all of 2024, and I'm really looking forward to everything that we're looking to do in 2025. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you.